We either pay interest or forfeit the right to earn interest. And if the interest of what we could earn or what we pay is the same, it's all the same cost. Although they want us to think 40-year mortgage is more interest than a 30-year. 15-year interest or 15-year loan is less interest than a 30-year. No. It's because we're only calculating over 15 years. We're not looking at what's called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what would that money have become had it stayed invested over that time. And what they're not accounting for in a 15-year mortgage is you've made a higher payment. If you would have just taken the difference between a 15 and 30-year mortgage and put it in a 5% account, you'd have exactly the amount to pay off the loan in 15 years on a 30-year mortgage. You need to make $50,000 in repairs to your home foundation. You'll be able to rent out the basement. The mortgage balance is $100,000 at 4.875 on a house for $350 and probably $400 plus once repaired. Any thoughts on whether HELOC for the repairs or whether refinance? Like, Molly, my recommendation is going to be to refinance, because 4.875 with that much equity, as long as your credit score is above 720, and if it's not, we can give you some tips on how to get it there. You should be getting sub 3% on that loan. And you also, so think about it, you might be able to get this $50,000 and you might want to get like a little buffer, like a little bit extra cash if you're going to start renting it out in case there's other things that come up. You might be able to make this where the payment doesn't change much. I don't know if it's a 15-year loan or a 30-year loan right now, but my feeling is go with a longer term loan, because, you know, I think I didn't fully beat the dead horse, Kelly, because now I'm going to give you just another suggestion here. So let's imagine you have a $100,000 home that you're buying. You could pay cash because you have the cash. You could finance for 15 years, or you could finance for 30 years. And I'm going to demystify the complexity of finance here. Most of the time people feel like, well, if I do a 15-year loan, I'm going to save interest over the 30-year loan. Or if I pay cash, I'm not going to have any interest at all. But again, you pay interest whether you pay cash or whether you pay a bank the interest. It's you either forfeit the right to earn interest or you pay interest, but there's always an interest cost. So let's just say for a moment, you could earn 5% or they charge you 5%. If you took a 15-year mortgage and just paid the exact same payment on that by paying extra every month as a 30-year mortgage, it would pay off in exactly 15 years. If you took $100,000 and paid cash for the home, over 30 years, the amount of interest that you have given up earning would be the exact same amount of interest you would have paid on a 30-year loan. We either pay interest or forfeit the right to earn interest, and if the interest of what we could earn or what we pay is the same, it's all the same cost, although they want us to think 40-year mortgage is more interest than a 30-year. 15-year interest or 15-year loan is less interest than a 30-year. No. It's because we're only calculating over 15 years. We're not looking at what's called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what would that money have become had it stayed invested over that time. And what they're not accounting for in a 15-year mortgage is you've made a higher payment. If you would have just taken the difference between a 15 and 30-year mortgage and put it in a 5% account, you'd have exactly the amount to pay off the loan in 15 years on a 30-year mortgage. Does that make sense how I'm describing that? It's not as mystical and magical as we think, and it's not as like, you'll hear some people say, oh, if you do a biweekly payment, biweekly payment's gonna save you 5 years on a 30-year mortgage. Well, why would that be? Well, let's break it down. There's only 1 month of the year where you have exactly 4 weeks in that month, and that's not every single year, but that's February, because every 4 years, you got, 4 weeks in a day. So what happens is when you go bi-weekly, because you pay every 2 weeks, it's like paying one extra full payment to that mortgage per year because of the 29th, 30th, and 31st day of other months. And so we think, oh, we didn't pay any extra. Yes, you did. You paid extra, and if you would have taken that same amount of money and put it into a cash value plan, you might have paid off your mortgage sooner, had more tax deductions along the way. But it's, again, the simplistic, it's like politicians that give you part of the story. That's how I feel like the financial world is. It's giving you part of the story of what to do. So a longer loan, if you have an automated way to save the difference between what you're paying now or what you would be paying if you shorten the loan, so you have more control over your cash, more access to your cash is really important. And the fact that you could rent out the basement, that's awesome. And interest rates are really low. So it makes sure your credit score, and there's apps where you can check your credit score for free. One,
You're fine.
is your credit good?
Yeah, credit's good.
Great. Then I think that refinancing is going to get your interest rate lower and you can pull some of that money out. Considering getting a cash value whole life on son, age 31, who earns 35K and has a 9-year-old daughter, or my daughter 26 who earns about 60K and no kids. Any thoughts on whether it's better to have the policy on my son or on my daughter? What I would recommend, rather than an either or here, is I would get term insurance on one of them for the same, for like a good amount, and get the whole life on the other, because then you could always convert the term insurance to whole life and you've actually locked in the insurability and the ability to convert regardless of health status. And then you're not like putting one at an advantage big over the other, because you're the owner of both policies because of the insurable interest. And you could even use the cash value to benefit both of them if you wanted, or to benefit yourself. That's kind of up to you because it's your kids. So Mala, if you want to ask more questions.
Okay. I'm limited in how much money I'd be able to put into the policy each month. Maybe 300, maybe I can do more than that, but it's sort of like, as a commitment, it might only be 300. So maybe that's.
Yeah, term insurance shouldn't be a big payment. It should be like a 1/12 of that or less. And then, you can have whole life on the other person, or you could have a little bit of term on each of them with a little bit of whole life. And then they both have a little bit of each, and the 300 would cover both. It might be a smaller whole life policy, but it still gives you kind of an opportunity to build cash value and convert later on, or they can convert it later on as their income increases.
Okay. Thank you.
But I mean, if I had to choose one versus the other, which you don't, because you could do this hybrid, and we can make connections for you on all this kind of stuff. Just let us know. I mean, Trisha could even private message you like a contact, or if any of you guys want to talk to David or Bobby on our team about any of the masterclass and things going on, let us know. We're happy to get those calls set up for you. But I would go with the one that has a child versus the one who doesn't have a child, if I were getting it, if I had to choose, right? Or if you're going to get a little bit more on one versus the other, because there would be an economic dependency on one versus another if something happened.
Rob wants to know, can you use a 401k plan to fund or overfund your whole life insurance policy? Kind of.
It's got a couple considerations. Number one, you can't just roll it over because it's not a like-kind exchange. You can roll real estate into other real estate with no tax consequence. You could roll life insurance into a different type of life insurance. There's no tax consequence. Those are called 1035s and 1031 exchanges. But to go from a qualified plan to a non-qualified plan, a qualified plan is a government qualified plan, like a 401k, an RIA, an RRSP, a 457, all these kind of things, like those are qualified plans. And so they're pre-tax most of the time. And now you're going to move to a post-tax, tax-friendly environment with insurance. So you have to kind of move it over time, or you have to pay the tax by making that move. So you can, it's just not as convenient as just rolling it or transferring it. Bank on yourself is very much, hey, the stock market's evil. Cash value life insurance is the answer. It's a technique, it's a strategy, it's fine. I mean, infinite banking system is, let's put 100% of your income into life insurance. I don't really believe in that. It's a useful book, a little bit too analogous and not enough concrete information for me, but these are all instrumental 15, 20 years ago in my thinking. When I'm talking about cash flow banking, I'm talking about a wealth capture system that I'm then using a death benefit to unlock other assets to improve my cash flow, and a place to store my money to use it. But I wouldn't put 100%, or I wouldn't use it to replace all other investments. And so they have pieces that are helpful, but what I'm looking at is, are they talking about how to recover cash? Are they talking about how to plug financial leaks? Are they teaching economic independence? Are they teaching how to build cash flow and buy net worth? Are they teaching you that you are your greatest asset, not a life insurance policy? Are they making you laugh along the way while you do it? Are they talking about having a hobby and unconditionally loving someone else in the world? So it's like, so yeah, they have a technique that's 1/1000th of what I'm up to. And that technique can be super useful for the right person, but it is incomplete. It's not going to give them the full answers. And I know enough about Bank on Yourself that it's someone going out there speaking, generating leads and selling those leads off. That's what Bank on Yourself is. It's using a book as a lead magnet, and it's one tactic. I endorse the book. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying it's incomplete. Infinite Banking System, I interviewed Nelson twice. It was the hardest interviews I've ever done because he never gives a straight answer. He only gives questions to my questions. And so when I was challenging him on some of the math, he didn't want to talk about the math. He just wanted to talk about the grocery store analogy and why you would want to put 100% of your money in this. And I would say, but what if they invoke the provision that you have to wait 6 months to get to your cash? He says, well, it's never happened. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of things never happen until they happen. Like Bear Stearns always could get money from the reciprocal desk until one day when they couldn't, they got shorted and they were out of business in 2 days. So I like to pay attention to the contracts behind these things. And I think it's most important that we're empowering the individual, that they learn how to be a financial steward, that they create a vision, that they add more value. And the financial tools are merely there as supporting characters in their life, not as the leading character. And as soon as someone makes a financial product more important than the person, the game is already lost, because now it's just a different side of the coin of trusting the government too much or trusting a corporation too much and not trusting ourselves. In this world, we have to start teaching people how to gain their own trust by increasing their knowledge and understanding the philosophical construct that leads to prosperity. Techniques do not lead to prosperity. They're merely one brick in the entire path. And as soon as we put too much emphasis on one brick, we lose sight of the path of a great life. We lose sight of the path of who we are as individuals.
Want to master your money? Want to figure out the things that you could do to improve your finances? Click here and check out more videos like this on Money Matters.